Hello and welcome back to Tungsten Tales for day 5 of Q School, the second day of Block B action over in Niederhausen and in Milton Keynes here in the UK as well. We've got 8 more players, 4 from each side of the draw through to stage 2 of Q School, and a few players have confirmed their place via the order of merit. We'll run through some of those names in the coming minutes, and some of the names that are in a little bit of trouble going into day 3, the final day for those block 3 players to confirm their place in the last 128 players, either in the European side of the draw or in the UK side of things. We'll start as ever with the European side. Kicked off around 11 a.m. this morning. UK time that is, and the 4 players through are David Venken, Florian Hempel, Jose Justicia and Ronnie Huybrechts. Some familiar names thrown in there, I'm sure. Ronnie Huybrechts in particular, a name we've seen on the PDC Tour, of course, and in the World Cup of Darts alongside his brother Kim, who is one of the most fancied Belgian players as of all time, a top players playing the Premier League. Ronnie Huybrechts looking to get back on the tour after a couple of years away, and he was very, very impressive. Maybe not quite so much in terms of averages, but in terms of his results, 6-0 in the opening 3 rounds, yet to concede a leg until he got to the last 16 where he faced Gino Voss throwing a 92.5 average at him, but not quite enough to defeat Ronnie Huybrechts, and then back to 6-0 in that quarter final, the final stage of the afternoon for Ronnie, with a 93 average to see him over the line into stage 2. Elsewhere coming through, David Venken, a fellow Belgian, one that we don't know quite so much about. Maybe seen him a few times in the WDF events or in the European Tour qualifying. But not someone we know a huge amount about. And then you've got Florian Hempel, who in particularly the last few weeks and months has been pretty good on the online circuit, shall we call it, putting in some excellent performances. So no surprise to me to see him come through, but defeating Christian Kist, a player that had a very good day at European Q School, and with a quarter-final placing on day 2, we'll see him go through via the order of merit, no matter how he does tomorrow on 3 or 4 points already. So Christian Kist is safe for now. And the final player, we'll have a quick look into Jose Justicia, a player that's played on the tour before, a couple of times in the World Championship. Had that infamous bust-up with Adrian Lewis in a Pro Tour event a couple of years ago as well. It was a little bit tougher for him. Came in the last 64 with a 6-0 win, and then defeating Joey de Jong with a 93.6 average 6-1, before being taken all the way to a final leg by Jimi Hendrix in the last 16, 87 average in that one. And then defeating Daniele Petri, the Italian we've seen at the World Cup of Darts again, in his final game. Petri, of course, now in the second stage as well, thanks to the order of merit placing. But a good day at the office for Justicia. He'll get that day's break tomorrow before Sunday he heads into stage 2, where tour cards will be on the line. So if I just head back into events, and we have a quick look at the UK staging on day 5, the second day of action for Block B participants. Your players through are Mark Dubridge, Paul Holloway, Martin Hennigan and Jason Askew. Another array of names, some you may know, some you may not know. The player that I'm going to focus on first is Martin Hennigan. Over the last 12 months, the players coming in stage 1, he's probably one of the more fancied players. Been superb in the online tournaments, one of the best players, maybe just behind players like John Williams-Jones, who unfortunately wasn't able to make Q School this year. But Hennigan having a good day. He was knocked out early on yesterday and needed a run, and got his stage 2 place automatically. 6-5 in the first round against Ian Lever really set him up well, and then a 95 average against Ian Jopling in the second round. You see these averages, these are top performances from Martin Hennigan. 89 to defeat Jake Jones, I believe is from the Staffordshire area, another player you'd expect to go on and maybe have a little bit of a run in this year's PDC circuit. Andy Jenkins defeated 6-1 in the last 16, then Kyle Richardson by the same scoreline in the quarter-finals. Elsewhere, Jason Askew, he produced a 94 average in defeating Jared Cole and a similar average in defeating Brian Hallis in the last 16. So wasn't particularly good in the opening rounds, but 94 averages when he needed to put it out the bag. He was able to do that. Someone we've seen on the Challenge Tour as a Riley's qualifier, of course, in the UK Open as well. Very, very capable player, Jason Askew. Elsewhere, Paul Hollowell, not a player that I'm particularly familiar with, and I did speak to Sam Gill from Darts News, and a player that he's not too familiar with either. So that says something, a player coming through that neither of us had heard of, and he's into stage 2, 78 average in his final game against Darren Johnson. And the final player through automatically from today is Mark Dudbridge, World Championship finalist, of course. Fairly straightforward for Dudbridge. Lost his tour card around 12 months ago, I believe. So a year on the Challenge Tour, or whatever you can make of the last year on the Challenge Tour, and he's come through games with the likes of Sean Matthews, John O'Shea, still the reigning World Masters champion. He defeated him 6-2 with a 92.5 average. John O'Shea, a player that had a pretty good day, and reaching the top 16 puts him in a fairly good position. I'm not sure exactly how many points he's on, but it'll be around 3 or 4, I imagine. And you've got to fancy his chances of getting through to stage B now. And then in the final, his final game, defeating Welshman Rhys Davis by a scoreline of 6-0. So Mark Dudbridge through to that stage, along with Paul Hollowell, Martin Hennigan and Jason Askew, and all the European names that I mentioned a little bit earlier on. Now to some of the players that haven't got any points on the board yet. Over in the European side, Leonard Gates, we've seen him in the World Series on the American event in the North American Championship before, and a very, very highly thought of soft hit player as well. He's not got a point on the board yet. First round exits in day 1 and day 2. You probably only need 1 point to get through European Q School. Stage A, that is. 2 point guarantees it. So he needs some wins tomorrow if he's going to come through and compete on Sunday all the way till later in the week on Wednesday when it concludes. A similar story for the North American players in Milton Keynes. Danny Baggish, one of the highest fancied players going into this, who is under Daniel Baggish, I imagine. Yeah. A 6-4 win. 6-4 loss, sorry, against Justin Hood. That is a horrific draw. Justin Hood saw him compete at the World Championships, the BDO World Championships in 2020, and a player that seems to have really been making strides over the last couple of years. 91.6 average for Baggish in that one, which is definitely not to be frowned at, but couldn't get him over the line, unfortunately. Matt Campbell, it's got to be said as well, he had a good day over in European Q School, racking up plenty of points, which sees him confirm his place in the second staging. And the final player I'll quickly touch on, another North American player, Danny Lauby. 94 average in that first round, well, second round 128, his first game of the day, but was defeated by Stephen Burton, another former tour card holder. So not going so well for the North American players. Gary Mawson is already through automatically. Matt Campbell is now through, but Danny Lauby, Danny Baggish and Leonard Gates all having it tough and sat on 0 points with just 1 day left. We'll have that day covered here on Tungsten Tales as always, and when the tour cards are ready to be handed out from Sunday all the way till Wednesday, we'll have our evening roundup as always, so you can get your quick fix in just 10 minutes here on Tungsten Tales. We'll see you soon.